He never lost a battle to the man history remembers as his conqueror. Not once. Hannibal Barca beat Rome so many times, on so many fields, that historians ran out of ways to describe the slaughter, and he still lost the war. This is the story of how being the best was never going to be enough, and what he did with the 20 years he had left after everything was taken from him. Carthage, 237 BC. A 9-year-old boy stands in a temple beside his father, a general named Hannibal Barca, and places his hand on a sacrificial altar. He swears an oath never to be a friend to Rome. Rome had just humiliated Carthage in the First Punic War, stripped her of Sicily, then Sardinia. While she was too weak to resist, Hamilcar didn't forgive that, and he made sure his son wouldn't either. Most children inherit a house, a name, a trade. Hannibal inherited a war that hadn't been declared yet. He grew up in his father's military camps in Spain, not in a schoolroom in Carthage. Every lesson was tactical. Every relationship was strategic. By the time he took command of Carthage's army in Spain at 26, he wasn't a promising young officer. He was a weapon that had been under construction since childhood. 218 BC, Hannibal makes a decision that no serious military mind of his era thought was survivable. He is going to invade Italy, not by sea, where Rome's navy dominates, over land through hostile Gallic territory, across the Rhone, and then through the Alps. In autumn, with war elephants, historians still argue about the exact pass he used. What isn't argued is the cost of the roughly 40,000 to 46,000 troops who began the crossing. Only around 20,000 infantry and 6,000 cavalry made it out the other side. Landslides, ambushes from mountain tribes, frostbite, starvation. He lost close to half his army before he'd fought a single battle against Rome. By any conventional measure, this was already a catastrophe. By Hannibal's measure, it was the cost of admission. He hadn't just moved an army, he'd done something Rome considered impossible. Arrived in Italy from a direction they hadn't bothered to defend. The element of surprise was worth more than the men he'd lost to get it. What followed were two of the most complete tactical defeats in Roman history up to that point. At the Trebia River, Hannibal baited the Romans into crossing freezing water at dawn, tired and half-fed, then hit them with hidden ambush troops from the flanks. At Lake Trasimene, he did something almost audacious in its simplicity. He hid his entire army along a lakeside road and let the Roman column walk into a killing field with no room to form a battle line. Somewhere between 15,000 and 25,000 Romans died in a single morning, many of them drowning in the lake trying to escape. Rome had never experienced anything like it. Not a defeat, an erasure. But notice something about both these victories. Neither one was won through superior numbers or brute force. Every one of them was won through terrain, timing, and psychology. Hannibal wasn't just fighting Romans. He was studying how Romans thought and then arranging reality so their instincts would kill them. This is what mastery actually looks like. Not always overwhelming force. Sometimes it's understanding your opponent so completely that their strengths become the trap. 216 BC, Cannae. The single battle military academies still teach today. Over 2,000 years later, Rome sent somewhere around 80,000 men, the largest army it had ever fielded, to finally crush Hannibal in open battle. Hannibal had roughly half that number. He arranged his center deliberately weak, curved forward like a crescent facing the Romans. As the Roman legions pushed into that soft center, exactly as designed, it began to bow backward, while Hannibal's stronger flanks and cavalry closed around both sides. The Roman army didn't just lose, it was encircled entirely, compressed into a mass so dense that many men couldn't even lift their weapons to fight back. Estimates vary, but somewhere between 50,000 and 70,000 Romans were killed in a single day, among the bloodiest single days of battle in recorded history, ancient or modern. The tactic Hannibal used at Cannae, the double envelopment, is still studied in military academies today. Generals from Napoleon to 20th century commanders have referenced it directly. This was the peak. He had done everything right, everything, and it still wasn't enough. Here's the part the highlight reels skip. After Cannae, several of Hannibal's officers reportedly urged him to march on Rome itself while the city was in chaos and undefended. He didn't. Historians still debate why. His army may have lacked the siege equipment and manpower to actually take a fortified capital, and marching on a city he couldn't capture risked losing everything he'd built. It was, by any measure, the correct tactical call. It was also, in hindsight, the moment the war was lost. Rome refused to negotiate, refused to field another massive army for him to destroy. Instead, a general named Fabius Maximus adopted a strategy of deliberate avoidance. Shadow Hannibal harass his supply lines, refuse pitched battle, and simply wait him out. It was unglamorous. It was mocked by Fabius's own countrymen as cowardice. It worked. Hannibal spent the next 13 years in Italy, undefeated in every major engagement and utterly unable to end the war. Carthage sent minimal reinforcement. His brother Hasdrubal, marching reinforcements over the Alps to join him, was intercepted and killed in 207 BC. His head, according to ancient sources, thrown into Hannibal's camp as a message. Total tactical mastery. Strategic stalemate. Sometimes the enemy doesn't have to beat you, they just have to outlast you. His name was Publius Cornelius Scipio. He'd survived Cannae as a young officer, one of the few Roman commanders in that battle who lived to draw lessons from it instead of dying in it. And the lesson he drew wasn't avoid Hannibal, it was become him. Scipio studied Hannibal's methods, flexible formation, terrain manipulation, psychological pressure, and took the war to Carthage's own territory in Spain, then North Africa, systematically dismantling Carthaginian holdings, while Hannibal remained stuck in Italy, unable to finish what he'd started. By 203 BC, Carthage recalled Hannibal home to defend against Scipio's invasion of Africa itself. The war that began in Spain, crossed the Alps, and consumed Hannibal's entire adult life was ending exactly where it started, except now he was the one being invaded. 202 BC, Zama. For the first and only time, Hannibal loses. Scipio countered his elephants with disciplined lane formations that let the beasts pass harmlessly through the ranks. He'd secured Numidian cavalry, the same kind of cavalry advantage that had won Hannibal his greatest victories, and used it against him. The master tactician was beaten with his own tactics by a man who'd studied him. Hannibal survived the battle. Carthage did not survive the war. Brutal peace terms followed, massive reparations, a gutted navy, and the end of Carthage as a Mediterranean power. 17 years of undefeated brilliance in the field, one loss, and the whole war was gone. Hannibal didn't retire into obscurity. He spent several years as a civic reformer in Carthage, restructuring corrupt finances and government, until Rome, still afraid of him even in defeat, pressured Carthage into surrendering him. He fled. For nearly 2 decades, he moved from court to court across the eastern Mediterranean, advising kings, still treated as the single most dangerous strategic mind alive, still hunted. In the end, cornered in Bithynia, around 183 BC, with Roman soldiers closing on the house he was hiding in. He chose the terms of his own ending, poison, kept for exactly this purpose. Ancient sources record his last words as something to the effect of, "Let us relieve the Romans of the anxiety they have long felt, since they find it too tedious to wait for an old man's death." Even at the very end, the war never stopped being personal for either side. He never lost the war of skill. He lost the war of time. Rome didn't beat Hannibal by being better. It beat him by refusing to stop losing until it had produced someone who could learn from him faster than he could finish them. That is the part of mastery nobody puts on the highlight reel. Sometimes you can be right about everything and still not be enough, not because your forging failed, but because the forge you built your enemy in was patience itself. Stories like this, the ones history tries to simplify into just win or lose, are why this channel exists. Every warrior we cover here was forged the same way, through discipline, through failure, through the long, unglamorous work of mastery. If this story meant something to you, subscribe. There's another warrior waiting in the forge. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more stories like this one, hit like and let the channel know. That's the Forged Arc.